And how long is the process taking for the visa approval and issuance? The process can be made entirely online, but beware of the scammers. There are plenty of them out there. I say this because I've seen many people that get fake visas. Hello world, welcome to a new video on the Build Tours channel. If it is the first time that you're here, let me introduce myself. I am Luis Velasquez and I am the manager of Build Tours. We are an authorized tour operator located in Ecuador whose focus is to promote Ecuador to Ecuadorians and the whole world, with a focus of sustainability of the territories and their cultures. In addition to our tours, we also assist with immigration to Ecuador alongside our team of experienced lawyers. So if you're interested in learning more about Ecuador from Ecuador, then you're on the right channel. You will learn about culture, nature, news, events from Ecuador. And of course, immigration updates. I invite you to subscribe to stay informed and keep learning about Ecuador. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media, Buildev Tours. BILDEV. If you're planning a trip to Ecuador or to book a tour, or you need a visa to Ecuador, whether for residency or tourism, then feel free to reach out to us via email at info@buildevtours.com. Please note that the visa laws may change at any time. This video was made in January 2025, and while I've made previous videos on this topic, the requirements of the visas to Ecuador, there are now some new regulations. If there are further updates, you can count on us to keep you informed about them. So remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. One important change that typically happens every beginning of the year is the change in the basic salary of Ecuador, which affects the amounts required for meeting the eligibility for some visas. I'll cover that shortly. Before continue, a very important note. This video cannot be considered legal advice. It is just a general overview. Based on your specific case, you may need additional requirements or you may skip some requirements. We can examine your case in more detail if you contact us. Regulations can also change as you go through the process, so it's always best to check with us before proceeding. And of course, if you're working with us, we will let you know about the changes as they are informed by the authorities. So again, if you'd like a detailed analysis of your situation, then you can contact us to info@buildevtours.com. We'll be happy to assist you via email, but we also have our social medias, Buildev Tours, and we also have our WhatsApp. And if you want to stay up to date with the changes happening in regulations about visas, immigration to Ecuador, then you can subscribe to this channel if you haven't done it yet. And if you're on YouTube, you can click on the bell to be notified when we post new videos. I recommend watching this whole video because you may skip some important details. However, if you're looking for very specific information that you think may be on this video, you can read the markers of the video in the description section. There are 3 key changes for 2025 regarding the visas for Ecuador. Number 1, the changes in the amounts required for eligibility for the residency visa. Number 2, the updates on the proof of income, which are now necessary even for professional residency visa applicants. And number 3, the new online application process, the new platform for submitting visa applications online without having to appear in person. First, let's talk about the tourist visa briefly. If you're interested in the tourist visa, I will be making a separate video about it soon, which will be linked in the description of this video once it is ready. The process can be made entirely online, but beware of the scammers. There are plenty of them out there. I've received many messages from people being scammed, and it's terrible what many people have had to go through. The Ecuadorian government recently opened an online platform, a system, so that people can submit visa applications online without needing the assistance of another person. This was to stop the scamming and corruption cases in some places. So now people can upload their documents there and pay directly to the Ecuadorian government with a credit card on this website, which ends in gob.ec. It's serviciosdigitales.cancilleria.gob.ec. Don't trust in any other person that outside of Ecuador will tell you that they will get you the visa because they have friends in the consulates, because they have friends in the Ministry of Immigration, or also called Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Human Mobility of Ecuador, that they know attorneys here that can get you the visa, because it is 99% likely that it will be a scam. Now you can pay directly to the Ecuadorian government through the government platform. And even if there are people who have friends in the consulates or friends in Ecuador, they cannot do anything because the applications sent through the online platform are sent randomly to people in an office in Quito, the capital city of Ecuador. The consulates do not process these visa applications anymore. There are not lawyers that can take care of that visa application. No, they go to a person randomly in the headquarters of the immigration ministry here in Ecuador. So if someone tells you that they will get you the visa because they have contacts, that is 100% false. Also, remember that the tourist visa will be sent to you via email. The application submitted online through the platform will be made with an email of yours, and you will be receiving every single notification of the process to your email. And the visa will be sent to your email by the ministry's email with the official domain .gov.ec. The rest, if you are doing the online process, the rest would be scam. I say this because I've seen many people that get fake visas. Like they hire someone, they receive a message with an electronic visa, but it's not from the gov.ec email. It's something that people forge and send them like, hey, here is your visa. Then they buy tickets. When they get to the airport, they say, no, this is a fake visa. So be very careful with the scammers, please. I will be making soon a separate video about this tourist visa. And yes, you can do it on your own. However, if you think that you would like some assistance to be sure about what you need to put things in order, or if you need assistance with the certified translations to Spanish, then feel free to contact us and we'll be guiding you through the process. And of course, you can subscribe to the channel and stay tuned so that you see when new videos come out talking about this process. Also, of course, you can let us know your questions in the comments section. For now, as of January 2025, the tourist visa prior to coming to Ecuador is required only for citizens of the following countries that I am putting here. You can also read in the description of the video the updated list in case there is a new country added to that list after I have made this video. If your country is not on this list, then that means that you can come to Ecuador with only your passport. You don't have to get a tourist visa in advance, and you will receive a 90-day tourist permit to be in Ecuador for 90 days, and you can easily extend that for 90 more days by paying a fee, which in 2025 is of $158. However, if you needed to obtain a visa through the online platform to come here to Ecuador, then in order to extend that tourist visa, you have to go through a more complex process. So it's not that easy. It's not impossible, but it's not the same as a person that didn't need the tourist visa to enter, which is a very simple process and you only need to pay a $158 fee. In this video, I will focus on the residency visas. There are two major categories for residency visas: the temporary residency visas and the permanent residency visas. The temporary residency visas are valid for 24 months, 2 years, 730 days actually, and they can be renewed before they expire. And the permanent residency visas do not expire. They just last forever unless you lose them. And you can lose them by overstaying out of the country for a very long time. The temporary residency visa does not have this restriction. However, in order to be eligible for the permanent residency visa, you must not leave Ecuador for more than 89 days since the moment that you got your temporary residency visa. So be careful, because when you get a consular visa, temporary residency visa, online or through a consulate, which after the approval of the offices in Quito, after your online application, then the days that you are out of Ecuador will count in this maximum limit of 89 days out of Ecuador. So be careful. I will talk about the requirement for the permanent residence visa in a moment. But let's break down the different types of temporary residency visas and their basic requirement. Here I am mentioning the most common types of temporary residency visas. Each of them has a basic requirement. You must meet this basic requirement in order to think about applying for that visa. If you don't meet this basic requirement, then look for a visa for which you meet a basic requirement. And if you don't meet any of them, then a more difficult process. But most people will meet at least for one of them. So let's go to them. If you meet the basic eligibility and you would like further details, remember you can send us an email to info@builduptours.com. Okay, what are the main types of temporary residency visas? First, we have the pensioner or retiree visa, visa jubilado. For this, you need to prove pension or retirement benefits for at least 3 basic salaries of Ecuador. In 2025, this amount equals $1,410 a month, 1,410 United States dollars. So for example, if you are from Canada, you would have to make the conversion and it has to be equivalent to 1,410 United States dollars. This requirement will likely increase in 2026, but we will know the exact amount by mid-December. 2. The professional technician or artisan visa. The basic requirement for this is a bachelor's degree or there are other eligible diplomas. However, the percentage rate of success increases with a bachelor's or master's or PhD degree. So I would say if you have a bachelor's degree, that would be best. An associate's degree, it may not be approved. I've made a video covering this visa in detail, so you can check it after this video. Number 3, the investor visa. It requires an investment of at least 47,000 United States dollars. And it could be an investment in several ways, but the two mains are a bank investment, which is a certificate of deposit that will lock in for 2 years and generate interests during this 2 years. Just remember that this money will be blocked for 2 years. You won't be able to use it until you get a new visa or until you quit your investor visa or until your investor visa finishes. Of course, there are some other things that you have to take into account because some credit unions or banks will renew the CD term automatically if you didn't notify in advance that you don't wish to renew the CD. So be careful. Of course, if you're working with us, we can guide you through all of this process and let you know about these details. The other most common type of investment is the real estate investment. And for that, you would need to buy property in Ecuador valued in at least $47,000. And this is the price of purchase. It has to be in the title deed that you bought the property for that amount. Of course, a finished house or apartment will cost more than that. But a plot of land, yeah, it could cost more than that, but it could cost less. If it costs less than $47,000, it won't meet the basic requirement for the investor visa. Also, if you buy the property with your spouse or with other people like in an association, your share would have to be of at least $47,000. Otherwise, you wouldn't be meeting the basic requirements for the investor visa. In the case of spouses, remember that when you buy property for couples, then everything would be 50-50. So in that case, the property would need to be valued in at least $94,000. There are many other details to mention about this visa, like opening a bank account or credit union account in Ecuador without having a residency visa here, the government insurance on the deposits, the interest rates, or if you are buying a property, the processes related to that and the costs. And if you would like that we make another separate video talking only about the investment visa in Ecuador, then please let us know in the comments, because that way we know that it will be worth it. Also, if you're already looking for a property, you can write us because we can assist you with the closing, checking that everything is in order, that the property is free of liens, encumbrances, and that it is in a safe area to build, for example. Because, yeah, unfortunately, there are people who have been scammed with these things as well. And even if it is not for the visa, yeah, you can contact us as well. Number 4, the rentist visa. For that, you need to be receiving money from a property rental or from stocks, and the amount that you receive monthly from that needs to be equivalent to $1,410. This visa would be obtained if you have, for example, a property overseas, you rent it and you receive at least $1,410 every month, US dollars. Or if you have stocks, but they usually pay every year, not like every month. But it's an option as it is written in the law, like if you receive income because of stocks or investments that you have in other countries, or even in Ecuador as well. Number 5, the digital nomad visa, or also known as the rentist visa by remote work. For this, you need to be working for a company overseas or own your own company abroad, and you would have to either receive a salary for at least $1,410 a month, or have savings for at least $33,840 in your bank account, either if you're working for a company abroad or you own your own company abroad. One of two options within this visa: receive a monthly salary of $1,410 or have savings for $33,840. 6, the work visa. For this, you need to be hired by a company legally established in Ecuador through a legal work contract. The requirements for that may vary depending on the type of company and the type of position you will be hired for, but it should be a company that can prove solvency, that can prove income, enough income to justify hiring a person abroad, and they would have to have been established for a certain time in order to prove that income over a certain time, including tax returns and all of that. Number 7, the dependent visa, or also known as Amparo visa. This allows a temporary resident to sponsor a relative, but only a spouse or a child, or well, a spouse or the children at the same time, no problem. If you have mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, grandchildren, you can sponsor them with a dependent visa for the temporary residency visa. For the permanent, yes, but for the dependent, no. Only spouses and children. And for all temporary visas, if you're going to have someone as your dependent, you may need to prove additional $250 for every dependent. This varies depending on the type of visa. So remember to contact us to analyze your specific case. If you're coming alone, then you don't need to prove the additional $250 of income a month. There are other types of temporary residence visa. They are not so common because they require sponsors or institutions here that certify, yes, we will be with this person or this person will be with us in this project. This type of visas are the scientist, researcher, or academic, the athlete, artist, cultural ambassador, the religious representative or volunteer, the volunteer missionary visa, the student visa, the press worker, the resident by agreement. This is for some countries that Ecuador has an agreement with, and the persons under international protection. Again, for most of these visas, you will need sponsorship from an institution in Ecuador, from someone. And most of these visas will not allow you to work either. And I don't really assist with finding any sponsors. So I don't really work with this type of visas frequently because the sponsoring institutions usually take care of everything. When they invite someone, they usually take care of the whole process with this person direct. The permanent residency visas. Then we have the permanent residency visas. The permanent residency visas can be obtained in two ways. One is after having lived in Ecuador for 21 months under a temporary residency visa. That is, from the day that you have obtained a temporary residency visa and being in Ecuador at that moment, then you have to be here for 21 months. If you leave for vacation, then the 21 months will not be met on the 21st month, but actually on the 22nd month. You have to be here for 21 months in Ecuador, within the Ecuadorian territory with that visa. And once you have been here for 21 months, you're eligible for the permanent residency visa. The other way to get the permanent residency visa is being sponsored or being the dependent of an Ecuadorian citizen or a foreign person that is already a permanent resident of Ecuador. And health insurance. The pensioner, the digital nomad, and the renters visa, these three types of visa require that you have health insurance in Ecuador. And usually this health insurance has to be bought in Ecuador. It has to be provided from an Ecuadorian provider. This requirement may change, so you can contact us for more information about this. We can refer you to an Ecuadorian insurance broker so that you can make all of your questions and make sure what plan fits you best. And of course, it will be way cheaper than in other countries, for example, the United States. The visa fees. Well, one thing is the visa fees themselves, the Ecuadorian government fees, and the immigration ministry fees. There are other fees related, like the notary process, translation fees, our professional fees. So I give you here just a quick breakdown of the visa fees, like the immigration ministry fees only. The application fee is $50 for all types of visas: tourist visa, temporary residence visas, permanent residency visas. This fee is 50% less if you are a senior, that is, if you are 65 years or older. If you are applying for a tourist visa, you pay $50. If you are applying for a temporary or permanent residence visa, you pay $50 unless you're 65 years or older and you are applying from within Ecuador, because if you're applying overseas, this discount does not apply. Okay, if you are a tourist, then you paid $50 for the application, and then if the application is approved, you pay only $30 for the visa. The temporary residency visa fee, once it is approved, you pay $270. The dependent temporary residence visa fee is $200. The permanent residency visa, based on 21 months of temporary residency, is $225. The dependent permanent residency visa is $175. Remember that almost every January the basic salary in Ecuador increases, and some eligibility requirements, the amounts change, they increase. And even some government fees, like the fee to get the tourist permit extended for 90 more days. So what I am telling you in this video is valid for 2025. The general requirements for all types of temporary residency visas. I have just mentioned a few minutes ago the basic requirements for the temporary residency visas. And if you meet the basic requirement for any of those, then you can think about the general requirements, which are for all of them, if you have the basic requirement for at least one of them, of course. And these are: number one, you must have entered in Ecuador legally. This may sound obvious, but I'm telling you just in case, because this is as it is stated in the law. That means you must have entered in Ecuador stamping your passport. For example, if you were in Colombia and you crossed the bridge entering Ecuador and you just walked in without stamping your passport, then you are going to do a visa application and you don't have the stamp of entry in your passport, you will not be able to apply for the visa, and you actually may be sanctioned because of this. Number two, you must have days available on your current tourist visa or your current temporary residency visa if you are renewing the temporary visa or you're applying for the permanent visa. Or you must have a valid extension on your tourist visa if you had a tourist visa and you got the extension. But be very careful if you have been to Ecuador before as a tourist and you're intending to come again as a tourist and then apply for the visa here, because there is a new regulation also about this, and it may happen that you may need to wait until a certain date to come, because you may enter and in the airport they tell you, hey, you only have 2 days left on your visa, or no, you cannot come yet. I will make a separate video about the tourist visa and talk about this new regulation, because I have had people coming that came like 1 year ago, then they came again, and then after 1 week they got fined and they didn't know they could be fined. It was even a surprise for me. So we have to be very careful if you have already been to Ecuador before and you're planning to come again with only your passport as a tourist to do the process here, okay? The citizens of country that needed to get a tourist visa through the online system, they cannot extend their tourist permit by just paying a fee. It is a different process. But as long as you still have tourist days available on your tourist visa, you're able to apply for a temporary residency visa here if you have the requirements for that. Again, if you're a temporary resident and your visa is still valid, you can also apply for the renewal as long as you meet the requirements, or you can apply for the permanent residency visa if you meet the requirements for that. There are some exceptions for this rule, but you would need to write to us to analyze your specific case again. Number three, your passport must be valid for at least 9 more months at the moment of submitting the visa application. So if your passport is about to expire, like it's got only 1 year left of validity, I encourage you to get a new passport, because it may complicate the case. Sometimes things happen, and if the passport has less than 6 months of validity when your visa is approved and it's going to be issued, then it will not be issued because the system doesn't allow it and it will be a big problem. Number 4, the criminal background checks. And these have to be the criminal background checks of the countries where you have been for 90 days or more in the last 5 years. It could be in multiple trips, like I was 3 years ago for only 45 days, but then last year I was for 50 days in this country. Then if that is the case, you will need to have a criminal background check of that country. And in the case of the United States citizens, they will need to provide 2 background checks. The federal background check issued by the FBI and the state background check issued by the state law enforcement authority. For example, in Florida, it would be the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. In Illinois, it would be the Illinois State Police. In California, it would be the California Department of Justice. The process, the institution to get these would vary depending on your state. For people applying for a permanent residency visa after they have been here for 21 months under a temporary residency visa, then this document would not be required if they have not left Ecuador for too long, or if they have not left at all, certainly. So this would depend on some things. But if you have not left at all while you have been here on a temporary residency visa, then when you're applying for the permanent residency visa, you don't have to get new criminal background checks. In the rest of cases, this may vary depending on the days you have left the country. The basis requirement for each type of visa, like the degree, the diploma, the pension letter, and the background checks, they must have an apostille or legalization. What is this? An apostille is a certification issued by some countries for international use of that document, for international recognition of that document. Not all countries issue apostilles, but most countries issue this, like China, United States, India, Canada, and some other countries that don't issue the apostille. They have to go through a more complex process of authentication of documents for international use, which is called legalization. Nigeria would be an example of this. I can't really explain the process here now because it varies depending on the country, where you are, and all of that. To talk about that, we really need to analyze your specific case. Also, a new requirement is that the proof of income is required for all types of visas. In the past, for example, the professional residency visa applicants didn't need to submit proof of income, but now they have to do. And if they are bringing dependents, it is more. The income requirement is of 470 United States dollars a month. And this is proven by submitting the latest bank statement. So, for example, if you're applying for the professional visa in December 2025, you have to provide the most recent bank statement for that moment showing income of at least 470 United States dollars if you're coming alone, because if you're coming with relatives, this amount may increase. In the case of people applying for the permanent residency visa based on 21 months of temporary residency, then this amount of bank statements is not only 1, but 3. And during each of the 3 months prior to the month of submission of the application, there must be income for at least 1 basic Ecuadorian salary. That is $470 in 2025. For example, if the person applies for the permanent residency visa in December 2025, then the person will need to submit the statement of September, October, and November. And each month, September, October, and November, there must be income for at least 470 United States dollars in the account. The bank statements could be notarized in apostille, but if you're here in Ecuador, you could also get a materialization, which is a special process through a notary public office here. But you will need to have access to your online statements, and the notary has to see that in their office, in their computer, so that they can make a certification so that the electronic copy becomes a hard copy, basically. But if by chance you have a bank account here in Ecuador already and you have the income, you don't need this, because you just go to the bank in Ecuador and they will stamp and sign. And in that case, you wouldn't have to get any additional certification. How can we help you? We can assist you with the whole process of the visa, with the whole visa assistance, which goes from the moment that you decide that you want to come here and you start gathering the documents. We guide you step by step on the documents that you need to get, where to get them, how to get them, and as you get each document, you send that to us, we review them and tell you if the documents are correct or if they had to be corrected. And the next steps for the authentication. Also, we take care of the translations of all Ecuadorian government fees, of the in-person visits here with you or without you, if you grant us a power of attorney that we would write. And if the application is online, we also take care of scanning and digitalizing everything to upload it. We take care of uploading it, of course. And the whole process finishes when we get you your Cédula card. The Cédula card is the identity card of Ecuador. Some people, they only want the certified translations, which are necessary here. And yeah, we also do that. But in the case of certified translations, we don't really review documents. We only take care of making the translations. So if something is wrong with the documents and you hired us only for the certified translations, we wouldn't be able to tell you, because we wouldn't really take care of reviewing how the document is issued, but only making the translation. And we also offer an additional service, which is of the apostillas or authentications in the United States. For example, this is for people that are not in the United States anymore and don't have friends, relatives that may assist them there. And we take care of gathering most documents there and including the authentications and apostillas. For example, if you are here in Ecuador and you know that you're not going back to the US and you don't have friends or relatives that can get the mail for you and take care of processing documents, receiving the mail, checking that, we can take care of that through our agents in the US. Of course, this would be for an additional fee in addition to our visa assistant professional fees. If you have a friend or relative in the US and you're working with us for the visa process, then we would guide the person in the US assisting you the step by step, like if it was you, on how to get each document, and that person would have to send us the pictures, the scans of the documents, and we would advise how to get the authentications and legalizations. I recommend that you contact us at least 6 months prior to the date that you are intending to come to Ecuador, so that we advise you about the current requirements for that moment. Because if you're coming in 2 years, it is very likely that things will change. Maybe the process will be easier, maybe not, but the requirements that we tell you now in 2 years, they may be different. That's why we recommend that you contact us about 6 months prior to coming to Ecuador. Of course, you can contact us before, but be advised that the requirements may change between now and then when you intend to come. The document preparation can take up to 3 months. And how long is the process taking for the visa approval and issuance? This varies a lot depending on several factors, like if you do the process through the online platform or if you do the process in person here in Ecuador, what office you choose, because yes, every office enforces differently. However, if you do the process online, it is standardized because everything is processed by the same office in Quito, not the same officials, because it is randomly assigned. Like me, Luis Velázquez, I submit my visa application on the online platform, but it will go randomly, or it will be randomly assigned to a person in a Quito office, and I can't know who this person is. But it's more or less the same for all applications in the online platform because they are processed by one single office in Quito. The online platform, it is rumored that it will replace the in-person process soon. We don't know if that happens in a few months, in 1 year, in a few years, or if it will never happen. But it may happen, especially as technology advances and is more used and known by more people. At the beginning, when the online platform started, the process was taking less than 2 weeks since the application was submitted online. But at this moment, it is taking way more. In the last few weeks, it's been going faster again. But more and more people are using this platform every month because it is getting known by more and more people. Remember that this platform has been online for less than 1 year. Now it's been busy because of the special process the Ecuadorian government has been having for issuing humanitarian visas for citizens of Venezuela. But when this process is over, the other visa processes may be faster again. We can't really tell. But I would say the average time at this moment for a visa to be approved is online is between 6 and 8 weeks, because by law they have maximum 60 days to approve a visa there. But in offices, some offices may take up to 90 days to approve a visa. In Cuenca, Azogues, where I am located, but we can assist you in other places if you are not going to be in the Cuenca area, the visa issuance is taking 4 and 6 weeks after the submission of the application. The approval, you know it like within the same week or 2 weeks after the application is submitted. They they call you for an appointment to go pick up the visa and a document to be able to get your cédula. That's here in Cuenca. Sometimes in the past, the visa was granted the same week or the week after the application. This may be again the case, it may be not. So I'm just telling you what it is like at this moment, but be advised that this may change again in the future. Again, how can we help you? With visa assistance through the whole process for a single fee that will include the Ecuadorian government fees, with a certified translations if you only need that part. And we also offer a special service of apostillas for people who are not in the US, or maybe even if you're in the US and don't have time for this or don't want to take care of any of this, we can assist you with the apostillas. And where to apply for the visa? Again, there are two methods for submitting the application. One is in person. Here in Ecuador, you have to be here. You don't have to appear to the office because you can grant us a power of attorney and we will take care, but you have to be here in Ecuador. But if you prefer just to go yourself directly with us, of course, we would accompany you to every appointment. But if not, you can grant us a power of attorney that we would write according to the regulations of the Ecuadorian Immigration Ministry. The other method is applying via online. We would submit the application online and someone will review it in a Quito office. Then they will notify you anything through that platform. So with the online application, you don't have to appear in person to any office. Well, this is not necessarily the case, because the person in Quito reviewing your case may decide that you have to appear in person. When you apply online, you have to select an office, the country where you are applying for, and the consular office, the consular of Ecuador that is the closest to you, to which you could attend for an interview in case you needed to. Or if you are in Ecuador applying online, then you have to select an office of the Immigration Ministry to which you could attend in case you are called for an interview. Most people will not be called to an interview, but others will, like in the case of minor children. When there are minor children, the officials will require an interview in person. Also, when the person has a criminal record check that may require some clarification and supporting documentation, they may be called for an interview. In the case of tourist visas, they may decide to call the person to an interview to analyze the profile better. But again, this is not for all cases and it will depend on the official reviewing the case in the Quito office. The online application is available for tourist visas, temporary residency visas, permanent residency visas. Once the application is submitted, it will be assigned to an official in Quito who will review the documents submitted, will analyze the case and will decide whether the visa is approved, rejected, or the person will be called for an interview at a consulate first or to one of the offices here in Ecuador, which would have been selected by the person at the moment of the application. Of course, if you're doing the process with us, we would take care of selecting that office and we would advise you how the case would go in your case, or how the case could go depending on the specific details of your case. So what is best, in person or online? And the answer is depending on your case. Most people are doing the process in person, but the platform is getting known and more known by people, so it's getting more and more used. And that may cause that the in-person process do not exist anymore because they are eliminated. But at the moment, it is taking longer through the online platform, but that also depends on the office that you use here in Ecuador. But in comparison, Cuenca Zogues to the online platform, Cuenca office is doing better than the online platform. But sometimes the online platform is faster. If you would like that we talk here on this channel about the online process, the advantages, disadvantages, make a comparison between online and in person, please let us know in the comments so that we know that people will watch that video. Also, if you haven't done it yet, please remember to subscribe to this channel. And if you're on YouTube, click on the bell to be notified of any new videos posted here. Can you do the visa on your own? Yes, you can do the visa on your own, but it involves some risks, especially if regulations change, which could happen between the moment I'm posting this video and the moment you are submitting your visa application. We are always up to date with the latest requirements and we can help you with a guide step by step if you're working with us. If you prefer to handle it yourself, we also provide consultations, like for 1 hour, and to make all of the questions you may have about the process. We have complimentary consultations for 15 minutes, but we also have extended consultations for a fee. We could schedule a video call to talk about your specific case, and alternatively, if you only need the certification certified translations, you can also contact us, because even if you're applying online from abroad, it may be cheaper to hire us for the translations, including the FedEx or the DHL fee to the US or another country, than hiring a translator where you are. Because remember that the translations will be reviewed in Quito by Ecuadorian officials. So we, as certified translators of Ecuador, would make translations according to the requirements of the Ecuadorian government. So that's all for today's video. I hope this has been useful and that you have learned a lot, or at least something new. And if you need assistance with immigration to Ecuador or arranging tours, including exploratory tours for those considering moving to Ecuador and exploring from a non-tourist perspective, then we can assist you with that as well. Remember that you can book a consultation with us via video call, or in person in our office located in the center of Cuenca, in the historic district of Cuenca, in the streets Benigno Malo and Calle Larga, edificio or building Berrezueta, on the 3rd floor. Benigno Malo 5-46 and Calle Larga. It is 2 blocks from the main square or Parque Calderón of Cuenca, just 2 blocks away from the main cathedral of Cuenca. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click on the bell to be notified about new videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.